Hey guys, Sandra here from Carcraft Auto Detailing in Melbourne. In today's video, I'll be going through the steps, products and methods I undertake when cleaning, restoring and protecting car wheel arches or wells to the highest level. Firstly, I'll say that this isn't something that is done for every job, but more reserved for clients that want that extra level of work, as well as something I like to do for my own personal vehicles every year or two. I will, however, be honest in saying that it's been well over 3 years since I last gave my Alfa Brewer's wheel wells a good decontamination and a new layer of protection. So it should make for a good video and hopefully let you guys see the results that can be realistically achieved on something like a 10-year-old daily driver. There is perhaps no other area on a vehicle that gets as much abuse from the elements as the wheel wells. So giving them a good scrub down each time you wash your car is a great way of limiting the many contaminants such as mud, dirt, iron and tar deposits from permanently bonding to the inner wheel wells. However, with the vehicle's wheels on, you are somewhat limited in the areas you can access or effectively clean. So as a yearly or even second yearly process, removing the wheels to give the inner arches a thorough clean and lay down some protection is a great way of maintaining and preserving them, as if more than a few years pass without giving them a thorough clean and some sort of protection, you will struggle to restore or remove the excess buildup that tends to bond permanently to the inner arches, accelerating their deterioration. There is also perhaps no other concentrated area on a vehicle with so many different materials, such as a large variety of bare and coated or painted metals, plastics and rubber. So unlike dealing with your car paint, trims or rims, you need to appreciate that although these components and materials are generally quite resilient, they also are quite diverse and have many varying levels of sensitivity to cleaning chemicals and techniques. I've touched on my personal philosophy on detailing in past videos, which is more or less about using the least aggressive method to obtain the desired results. However, there is no getting around that this takes a lot more time to achieve. So I do understand that my methods aren't for everyone, and for certain jobs I'm not always able to do things exactly as I'd like, simply for the fact that time equals cost, and I do try to work with people's budgets, at least to a point where it doesn't entirely compromise my philosophy and level of work. So what I've found works best for me is attacking the inner wheel wells with certain stages of somewhat mold cleaning and decontamination bit by bit that begins to break down the many layers of grime, rather than hitting them with one aggressive stage of cleaning that can cause additional damage from the dirt, mud, tar and brake metal shavings all abrading the finish, or overly strong chemicals stripping the material's surface. But as with all aspects of detailing a vehicle, knowing when to stop and accept that this is as far as you can go without compromising the paint or surface is just as important as trying to achieve the perfect finish. So with the wheel wells in particular, trying to get them 100% perfect in general is quite unrealistic unless the car is a trailered showpiece. My goal with my 10-year-old Brewer with over 100,000 kilometers on the road is to realistically get the inner wheel arches looking about 80 to 90% perfect. And I know that given enough time and work, I can achieve this without further damaging the finish. So after the rim has been removed, I start by giving the area a good pre-soak with an all-purpose cleaner or degreaser to begin breaking down the top layer of dirt and grime. Usually my product of choice is Meguiar's Super Degreaser at a 1:4 water dilution. But I've been trialling Optimon's Power Clean all-purpose cleaner the last month or so with good results. However, I've found that it really does need to be used undiluted for exterior use, which does make it quite a bit more expensive than the Meguiar's. But just to touch on degreasers and all-purpose cleaners in general, there is a lot of difference in strength and safety of them in relation to not damaging the surface. Overall, your car cleaning specific degreasers tend to be a lot more mild and safe on most car surfaces compared to the general household detergents and all-purpose cleaners, even more so when you compare them to the more mechanic-based aerosol degreasers that really do strip and sometimes harm the surface. So once the product has had a few minutes to work, I then give the inner wheel wells a good thorough pressure rinse to blast off as much of that grime as possible. You can start with the pressure washer first, but the water will further dilute the chemical's strength. So it may be best to allow it to somewhat dry before applying your chemical. Personally, I've found that the Tornador is one of the greatest tools at cleaning wheel wells. It's the action of the strong air pressure together with the chemical injection that works so well at not only loosening and dislodging the grime, but also doing it in a safe, non-physical contact manner that preserves the integrity of the surfaces. A steamer is another great option that I have and do use as well. But overall, the Tornador is perhaps a little quicker, with the added bonus of dispersing more of the APC to continue breaking down the contaminants as you work. So at this stage, I've removed the majority of the grime without actually making any direct contact with the surfaces, which is ideal in limiting the abrading and scratching once I do make contact with the surfaces. One thing I'll also mention is that you don't want any chemicals drying on the surfaces, so reapplying them or rinsing them down is vital to prevent staining and streaking on the finish. As you can hopefully see, the area is already looking much cleaner, but the heavier bonded grime is going to require some physical scrubbing to achieve a better result. So a selection of brushes is needed to physically access and remove more of that grime. I've filled the wash bucket with water, detergent and some all-purpose cleaner with a grit guard in the bottom, and with the use of specific brushes and another application of all-purpose cleaner, I'm basically going to go over each area and component to try and remove the next layer of grime. This is then followed up by another blast with the Tornador, which is going to further help dislodge and loosen more of that gunk that the brushes didn't fully remove. Once again, I give the entire wheel well a thorough pressure rinse to remove both the loosened grime and the cleaner to get ready for applying a tar and iron remover. The area is given a couple of minutes to let the majority of the water run out, as I don't want to apply this chemical on a very wet surface as it will reduce its effectiveness. I'm using CARPRO tricks, which is a combination of tar and iron deposit removers. But you can also use separate tar and iron removal products if you wish. I apply a nice even coat to the whole area and give it about 5 minutes or so to do its magic of dissolving both iron and tar particles. The reason I use this product after I've thoroughly cleaned the area is that it now only needs to treat the more stubborn bonded contaminants, whereas if I used it at the beginning, it would have to fight through the lesser grime in order to reach the stronger grime, so its effectiveness would be largely reduced. After about 5 minutes of letting tricks do its job, I give the area another quick coat of the product and then use a microfiber cloth to work the tar and iron remover in a little further, spread it and wipe it around to aid in increasing its overall effectiveness. I allow it to sit for a couple more minutes and then the wheel well is given a final thorough pressure rinse. This could be the final stage if you really are just interested in cleaning the inner wheel arches. But as this is quite a time consuming job that I don't want to be doing anytime soon, I'm going to be adding a durable protective coating that should last a good year or two in the form of CQUARTZ DLUX. The key to having any durable protection last for as long as possible starts with the proper preparation of the surface. So for the inner wheel well, I use the TORNADOR's air to blow out the majority of the water, and then I give the whole area a wipe down with some wax and grease remover or Prepsol. This is really about making sure that there is a bare clean surface that will allow the coating to successfully bond and last. And although you can usually achieve this with an alcohol-based IPA cleaner on most areas, the wheel wells are just such a badly contaminated area that it really is a good idea to use something just a little more capable at prepping the surface. I then go on to give the whole area an IPA wipe down using CARPRO eraser, as I want to ensure that there is no wax and grease remover residue remaining on the surface, and it also makes a good final inspection to evaluate if the surface is truly clean and decontaminated, as your microfiber cloth should be clean after you've done this final wipe and not picking up any more grime, in which case the surface isn't ready for coating and you should continue cleaning until it is, or the coating simply won't last. I've gone through DLUX and CQUARTZ coatings in my previous videos, the Julietta QV video series in particular, so I'll keep it brief here. But basically, the coating is added to a microsuede applicator, and then in the most uniform manner as possible, it's applied to the surface, ensuring you have a full even coverage. To achieve this on such intricate areas, you will need to remove the microsuede cloth from the backing foam applicator to access and apply the product in those tighter spaces. As I've mentioned in past videos, you don't always need to wipe down DLUX when it's applied to certain plastics in particular, as the wipe down is all about achieving a flat uniform finish. So if the finish looks fine on these particular plastics and trims, just leave it to cure and you will actually be producing a thicker layer of coating. I've also mentioned in the past that I generally always add 2 coats to most coating jobs, as it will increase the durability of the coating and really doesn't take that much more time to do. However, just note that the curing time for applying a second coat over the first will be slightly increased if you're not wiping or leveling down the finish. For me, on this surface and on this day, it took about an hour and a half to let the first coat cure so that it was ready for the second coat to be applied. And it took a further 3 hours or so for both coats to cure enough to then apply CARPRO Reload as a top layer of protection and to seal the finish. But like I said, I covered this process more thoroughly in my Julietta detailing series, so if you have more questions about it, maybe take a look at that series first. So to sum up, apart from the waiting times to allow the coating to cure, this process took about 2 hours of work for the wheel well to be complete. So really, a good 8 hours or so is what it'd take to do all 4 inner arches. I don't know if all you guys are the same, but for me, my cars just seem to feel and drive better when they're given a little more pampering and attention. I hope this video was useful to some of you out there. Please like, comment and subscribe to show your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.